This is Election Day, and if you have not yet voted, go vote. Our show, Things I Found Online, can be found online after you vote, so first vote. There is just too much at stake. Trumpism is divisive. The word united is in the name of our country. We need our leaders to be uniters. You are out there voting for that brand of leaders right now, and I applaud you. And if you need a pizza, Lane found a website where we can send pizzas to people who are waiting in line at the polls for an hour or 2 hours or 3 hours. What is that, Lane? He's busy he's actually doing his job, and I interrupted him.
No, it's this cool site.
Pizza to the polls.
And as we know, there's a lot of long lines in a lot of polling places around the country, so they bring pizzas to people who are waiting, so they don't just get hungry and discouraged and leave. And so you can go to polls.pizza if you want to donate. And also, if you're in a long line, you can report, and they might just bring you some pizza. So
yeah, you could go behind a dumpster, smoke a joint, and then report like a really long polling line.
Exactly.
And someone will bring you pizza.
Exactly.
So God bless America.
And if you don't like pizza and you've already voted, you can go to Shake Shack and show them your I voted sticker, and they'll give you free French fries.
That whole if you don't like pizza thing sounds implausible.
Nobody dislikes pizza.
It is true, but everyone loves French fries and shakes and shacks. I'm Louise Palanker here with Leslie Sackheim and Lori Roggenkamp. And the polls have closed in a few states, and we will get to that in a minute. But first, let me ask this question. How have you emotionally managed the last 2 years?
Well, therapy. Therapy's been great.
Gastrointestinal...
Dr. Spurt in Century City. He's amazing. He's helped me with all my stomach issues.
His name is Dr. Spurt?
Dr. Spurt. He's wonderful.
I don't know that there was any other profession he could have gone into.
Exactly. I don't, yeah. He actually told me that his business had increased about 50% in the past 2 years after Trump was elected. So, anyhow, and also, I've learned actually, I took a vacation and I turned off all the news and I just disconnected from all of it. And, you know, when I got back, I knew that I was going to get kind of sucked back into it.
It's like heroin. Yeah,
exactly. However, you know, when I see Trump on TV, I turn it off. I don't want to listen to him. I want to listen to the more important issues. Also, Facebook, which at the beginning was great therapy, you know, venting. It's a great place to vent. But then all of a sudden, I kind of felt that I was getting sucked into that where you were getting into arguments with people who, by the way, half the time I think may have even been trolls. So
it's just really hard to know. And I know it feels good to type what you're typing, but then when you read the slap back, it doesn't feel so good. And so you kind of want to temper that and make sure you're not putting yourself in a state of unease every time you open your phone to see what's written there. We're just in this kind of like twisted knot all day.
Right. And it also puts us into really awkward situations. I had an argument with a cousin who unfriended me, who I haven't spoke to. I'll eventually have to see him at some kind of family function, and that should be really interesting.
So have you adjusted your feed? Have you hidden people who post things that you find disturbing or distressing? Or how I
do. I absolutely do. Anytime I notice now that I post something, especially this past week about things that, you know, the Democrats are doing about getting out the vote, I hide my feed from all my Republican friends.
Oh, you can hide a specific post from...
Yes.
So have you put your Republican friends on a certain list? Like, how do you...
Yes, I have them. Like, everybody can see this feed except for all of them.
Oh, wow. You're very strategic.
And then I'll let them back in when I'm posting...
Kittens
pictures of my redheaded children or something like that.
Okay. Those are really safe territory, politically and religiously. It's just like everyone's cool with redheads. What I did was, well, I think at first I sobbed for many days, and then I I didn't want to see the news or anything. And then like maybe after about a month, I sort of did this deep dive into reading books about how this could have happened. So like if you start with Hillary's book, What Happened? That's literally the name of her book. It's like, yes, what happened, Hillary? What happened? And then I read the Michael Wolff book, the Hillbilly Elegy, The Plot to Hack America, The Plot to Destroy Democracy, Malcolm Nance, Katie Tur's book, Joe Biden's book, Bill Browder's book, James Clapper, James Comey. I read all the books.
What happened to?
Just what do you think happened? Like they're all called, here's what I think happened. So there were Russians. I mean, it's basically like according to Malcolm Nance, or maybe it was according to, okay, I'm not sure. I read a lot of books, but there was like a coalition of shared interests, whether it's like evangelicals or far right or racists or Russians. It's like, oh, you love white people and guns? We love white people and guns. And they all kind of got on the same page and said, let's elect this candidate and that will be awesome. And they all managed to pull it off. That's what I think happened.
Do you think that if the Russians had not interfered in the presidential election, that Trump would still be our president?
Yeah, so there's a book called House of Trump, House of Putin, which is probably the best book I read that explains how that happened. And that was definitely the coalition book, how they've Trump has been enamored with Russia since the 80s because Russian oligarchs are just like insanely wealthy. Like the kind of wealth, I mean, really what we're finding out is all Trump had was like his dad's money, and then he's just kind of like been going through that. He's never made money. He's just paraded around as a millionaire using his dad's money, but like actually squandering all of it. So the idea that he could have oligarch money was like, he was salivating at that because that's billions. And so his kind of like boy crush on Putin is really, I want to be one of your super rich buddies. Like that's his wet dream, if you will. And so that's why he courts Russians and then they court him, because he has like this weird charisma that makes people kind of listen to him transfixed. Like either you loathe him or you hate him. There's no on Trump, right?
Right.
It's one or the other. So he gets these crowds of people who feel weak and he makes them feel strong because he's their bully. And so Putin was like, oh, that guy can, like, he's really Hitlery. He can draw a crowd. So that kind of worked out for Putin, and it just kind of worked out for everyone. And yes, there's a lot of Americans with grievance who just want to tip over tables and like anything would be better than this. So let's just throw all the bums out and start over. And they have reason to feel that way. But that strategy is like saying, you know what? There's no carrots at this grocery store. So let's burn down the grocery store. Like you can't solve a problem by like eliminating the infrastructure that would allow the problem to be remedied.
Yeah. Well, you know, it's preying on everybody's fears.
Yeah.
So that's number one. And
like they find these like one issue that will get everyone's attention, and either it's like in the 60s, you know, black kids are going to come to this school, or in the 80s, it's people of the same sex want to get married, or in the 90s, whatever it is, it's like, you know, and they just, you know, clutch their pearls and they go to the polls and they vote because they're afraid of that thing. And this year, the thing that really stuck, and they tried, you know, trans bathrooms, but people were just like, okay, well, you can just lock the door in your stall. Like, I don't think people got that upset about trans bathrooms, but the idea that like people are coming across the border to take your job, and that whole human instinct to be afraid of people who don't look like you, that they might be threatening, that is what got everyone's attention this cycle.
The fear of the unknown, the fear of people like stealing your job of, you know, picking fruits and vegetables in the fields. That I mean, nobody wants those jobs anyhow.
But Les, have you thought that it may go even deeper than that? It may go into like, what if they marry my daughter? Like it may be this primal, what if they sleep with my wife? It may be they're coming for our women. It just may be this deep primal fear of feeling threatened because you don't feel good in your own skin. You don't have an empowered life. And so it's much easier to say, I'm afraid of that. And if we can keep that out, I'll feel better, than to say, let me strengthen my own resolve so that I don't find strangers to be threatening.
Well, I was watching CNN before I left, and they had a poll about the four top issues for voters across the board. So the number one was healthcare, but the next one after that was immigration.
Yeah.
So
It's working. They're all ginned up. Well, let's go to Mamie because
Hello.
she's probably really jet laggy. All right, so the backdrop has shifted. It doesn't look at all like IKEA or Hong Kong any longer.
Does it look like Vegas?
It really does. Oh, you're in Vegas?
I am in Vegas.
Baby. All right, so you are at your mom's house, or whose house are you at?
No, I'm at a friend's house.
Okay, so what happened? You got on a plane, you had your sample ballot. Tell me everything.
Yes. So I actually flew into San Francisco on Friday. I was in San Francisco visiting friends, and this morning I hopped onto a flight and arrived in Las Vegas at 9:40, and then hopped into an Uber and went directly to a polling station. And it was easy. The line was only about 5 minutes long max. Easy sailing. Went in, voted.
How are the slots at the polling place?
It was all. I mean, everything was totally fine.
No, I mean, did you win any at gambling? Did you?
I walked past machines. I won't do it till afterwards.
No, but do they have gambling at the polling place?
Not at the polling place.
Oh, okay. Because I think that would be really confusing. Like, which booth do I go into?
Exactly.
it's a great way to get voters.
It is winner, winner. All right, so so they had your name. You were registered.
I was registered, and it was really easy. I was a little worried because friends that had done early voting on Friday were reporting an hour and a half long lines, but I was only in line for 5 minutes. It was very, very easy.
And I like your sticker. It's very diamondy.
Yes, and it's got a picture of the casino skyline. So it's very Vegas.
Yeah, you guys can you see our stickers?
I saw it earlier. I don't see you right now, but yes, I did see it. It's very nice as well.
Yeah, we got nice stickers in California. All right, so what are the big candidates? What are the big races that everyone is looking to Nevada for?
Yes, so the major one is Senator Heller. As I read, he is probably the most at-risk Republican because Hillary Clinton won it in 2016. So fingers crossed. The last I read, he was up by a point or two, but it was within the margin of error. So we'll see. But then also, in addition to that, there are some Congress people who are up. There's also the governor, and then everybody down that. So currently a Republican, but I don't know. It's really everything is a toss-up.
So Nevada is a very important state.
It is, yes.
And do you feel good
That's
about?
why I came out.
Yes, you feel good about your effort.
Yes, I do. Well, and one of the reasons, because people have asked me why I didn't just vote absentee, which is what I did in 2016. And then a couple of days after the election, I found out that something went wrong with it. I don't know. I honestly don't know. But I was so furious and sickened by it that I promised myself that I would actually fly in, and that would be the one way to guarantee that my vote would get counted.
All right. Are you going to go see Celine Dion tonight?
Oh, I've already seen her before, but you never know. I mean, we'll see if there's reason to celebrate tonight.
All right. Yeah, I'm going to stay home and watch Obsessed. I'm going to go into my panic room after the show's over. So, yeah, we're all a little nervous. And I thank you so much for taking part, and you're a fine and great American.
Thank you.
Thank you for voting.
Thank you, too.
Send that woman a pizza. So I was volunteering over the weekend for the congressional seat of, I think it's California 25. Katie Hill is running up against Steve Knight. And I just decided this election cycle that it's like, I wasn't going to do a lot of filming or photo taking, but when we were doing our orientation, I was just like so overwhelmed by the number of people there that I just kind of like did a pan of the room, and I think we have that. It's quite an operation, and I really do credit Swing Left for, what's going on in California with these swing districts.
Yeah, that is awesome. I can't imagine. I can't even. Oh my gosh, that's crazy.
There's my husband. He's just like, what are we doing here? I don't.
Wow.
When do we get to go get pancakes?
Yeah, I thought we were going to IHOP.
Because we drove for like 3 hours from Santa Barbara to get there, and like there were lines around. It was like in this little strip mini mall and some sort of office space that some company had gone under and just run and fled, and there were like, rickety tables and stuff, but it's just full of people and volunteers and
Hey, I know that guy.
yeah, all kinds of activity and lines around the corner to sign up, and then lines for this and then lines for orientation. The line for the bathroom was insane. I mean, if you want to pee, I don't recommend this. Because you can't, like, you're not allowed to go into anyone's house, and you're tempted, like, you're knocking on doors and you're just like, do you guys like have a bathroom? But they tell you no, like, no good can come from you going inside anyone's house. Like, that's one of the things that you're warned not to do.
I have a friend, Marta, who was there this weekend as well, and she had taken a video, and there was a guy from another podcast, but I can't remember the name of the podcast, who was there leading a group, and there were so many people. I was just blown away.
I was blown away because we usually walk for Salud Carbajal in Santa Barbara, where you just go into this bungalow and they give you a clipboard and you go. They have an app, and it's like you have to go through like this tech training, and the app was overwhelmingly confusing to me because every time you tried to refresh it, it would freeze, and I'd be like, it's gonna lose all my data. And if you just have a clipboard, you're like, well, but they don't have a paper trail. Like, they just send you out with the app, and you're calling like, the app's broken, and the guy's like another volunteer like you, and he's just like, do you want to try rebooting your phone? I'm like, my dad could have told me that. I mean, I need.
Yeah, I did tech support for Hulu, and I'm not tech savvy at all. I literally earlier, just 5 seconds ago, was like, I don't know what's going on with these. So it's like, I have
that's
like
me.
This literally like no tech, and so my whole thing was like, they're like, my DSR server is down, and I'm like, whew, that sounds bad.
Sucks for you.
You should probably talk to
But
somebody about
my
that.
favorite moment of campaigning for Katie Hill was we ring this doorbell, and we've got our flyers, and I've got my app and everything, and you can see Katie on the flyer, and this baby screams, Katie Hill! I'm like, wow, the guy who came ahead of me is doing a really good job. Babies know her name. I'm like, I wish you could vote, honey. But that was adorable. I'm like, all right, Swing Left is really doing an awesome job in California.
Is great. Yeah, we are mind controlling babies. So.
Hey, they are the future.
It's part of the app.
It's part of the app. So, all right, as we go to air, we are looking at flippable House districts. The polls closed at 3 p.m. in Kentucky, where we are looking at the 6th Democrat Amy McGrath, the fighter pilot, is going up against Andy Barr. Do you guys have any news on that seat?
Yeah, it's McGrath is ahead by a very slim margin right now.
The thing about looking at a map of America, though, is it's going to look mostly red because most of it is places where people don't live. So that's what's deceptive about looking at the entire map.
You know what I found was, she caught my attention back in the spring when she had that commercial.
She's so cool.
That commercial just blew me away.
Yeah.
And she just seemed like she was a tough ass.
Yeah.
And I really liked her. And now what I've been reading is Andy Barr has been, they've been trying to make her out to be this big progressive. I mean, like a big progressive.
I always think that's funny that's a bad thing. It's like, she wants everybody to be happy.
Doesn't the word
Nancy
progressive
Pelosi.
The word progressive has mostly is made up of the word progress. So I don't understand why that's such a problem.
I never have gotten that. It's almost like she's going to come to your house and give you peanut butter and jelly sandwiches.
Now that's progress.
Or something vegan.
Yeah. And I'd be like, okay. Earlier today, was listening to The Daily, which is another podcast. I'm sorry. But they said that the main issues are gun control, healthcare, and immigration. And they said healthcare is going to be a really decisive issue.
Right.
That's CNN on their took a survey. It was a 41%. It was at the top of all that was the number one issue.
Yeah.
And that was the big fear when Obama was working so hard to roll out the ACA, was that as soon as people have it, they're going to want to keep it. And so the best thing the Republicans could do is make people afraid of it and then say, and then run on, we're going to take it away. Did you know that in Obama's first term, he had the House and the Senate, and he passed Obamacare, and so many of those brave men and women that voted for the ACA lost their seats to Tea Party candidates. So it's like people sacrificed their careers for the sake of everyone's health care.
Well, that's what they were saying about Heidi. It's a completely different issue, but that's what they were saying about Heidi Heitkamp. Is that went down the polls simply because she voted not to confirm Brett Kavanaugh, and that she, and so that's why they were saying they think that a lot of Democrats in majority red states chose to not do that because they wanted to keep their seats.
Well, that's what Joe Manchin did. So we'll see if that works for him.
Yeah.
It would be interesting. Of course, I want him to keep his seat and defend his seat. But if he goes down, he goes down having done the wrong thing.
Right.
Yeah.
That actually should be really interesting to see that.
I must say that Andrew Gillum is my favorite candidate of this entire cycle. I think he's the most impressive person. That guy is really, really good.
I want his soundbite to be my ringtone. I keep meaning to change it, but I just want the only reason why I haven't changed is because I think it'd be weird if you get a call and it just says the racists think he's
the racist think you're a racist. Do you have anything from Bill Nelson?
We'll check on that.
All right.
Did you know that Bill Nelson was an astronaut?
No.
He looks like an astronaut. He has astronaut face.
Yeah.
That makes sense. Everything's adding up.
That's
in 1980.
Major Nelson, does he have like a little bottle?
Major Nelson.
Does he have a little bottle where he keeps a tiny genie?
He was a
who is not permitted to show her navel on television in prime time.
and the mother-in-law is just oh boy.
Oh boy.
Oh man.
Bill is up by a few points.
Is he?
I'm sorry, we're talking about something important.
Excuse me. We want to know if he has a genie. We don't want to know if he's winning a Senate race.
It's still inconclusive if he has a genie, but
okay.
He's up by 2 points, 51 to 48, and with 40 reporting, so could go either way, I guess.
In Virginia, I want to talk about the 7th District because I find it fascinating. We have Abigail Spanberger taking on Dave Brat, the Tea Partier who famously primaried Majority Leader Eric Cantor in 2014 for being too liberal. What's interesting to me, and there's like an entire episode of This American Life, which I highly recommend because they do a deep dive into this. Dave Brat ran on an anti-immigration platform. He was a test balloon for Trump, backed by the Steves, Bannon, and Miller. Brat is a nationalist. We can just call him a white nationalist because that's
why is that now a thing?
That's pretty much what it is. He was recently drawing an equivalency between torch and gun wielding Nazis and the vocal constituents that came to his town hall.
God.
Good people, bad people on both sides. So the Brat Tea Party fringe Freedom Caucus, whatever they were calling themselves, were always this like really fringe element of the Republican Party that Steve Miller and Steve Bannon were kind of a part of the whole Breitbart contingency, and they had like this Georgetown apartment in D.C. where they would hold their little frat bro parties and like kind of like bro out on like how cool it is to be white.
Yeah.
And
talk about all the hot chicks that they could get.
Yeah. Like these khakis are like the bomb and they are like totally pulling tail.
Yeah.
And so they put together this sort of like scheme but because everyone thought that Eric Cantor was like an idiot and that, and he wasn't reachable. And then he wanted to sort of widen the tent of the Republican Party. And he said, his thing was like, we're just running out of people. And like, here's the math. So we need to be a more attractive party to other people. And then the right wing was like, oh, no, you don't. And then they started kind of talking about like, well, we could primary him. And at first it was just like, no, you can't. And then they did. So, and the way they did was by telling people, we don't want any more immigrants. And that was like unbelievably, disturbingly popular.
Yeah.
And that is what won him his seat. So if Abigail Spanberger can defeat Dave Brat, then we will have sort of cut off the head of the snake because Brat was a test balloon for Trump. It worked so well that then they kind of like, after 2014, they were like, well, maybe we could elect a president. who shares these beliefs. Do you have something for me, David?
So we have a couple breaking pieces of news. Wheezy, Democrat Elizabeth Warren wins re-election to U.S. Senate from Massachusetts.
Woohoo!
And
I heard she's good.
She's good, and she's a native, right?
Well, she's at least she's more Native American than I am, even though we look like twinsies.
We also have a breaking Democrat Debbie Wasserman Schultz wins re-election to U.S. House in Florida's 23rd congressional district.
Mm-hmm.
Oh boy!
And more to come.
Yay.
Speaking of Virginia, there's the 5th district, which has come in late into the game.
Yes, you were telling me about this one.
And it is Leslie Coburn, who's a former journalist and 60 Minutes producer and mother of Olivia Wilde.
That's crazy.
And
oh, wow.
She is running against a Republican by the name of Denver Riggleman. All these names.
That's such a great name, though. I almost kind of want to vote for him.
And they say that this could be a sign of a tidal wave threatening to wipe out the Republicans if she wins.
That would be great.
That's another race that we need to kind of keep an eye on.
Yeah.
So, Lori, we were talking about how we've been emotionally coping since the 2016 election. What are your tools?
Well, I gained back all of the 150 pounds that I lost.
Oh.
So that's kind of how I've been coping. I basically just...
How's that working?
Stress ate. It's been good, I think that I'm finally getting over the anxiety that I had about it. And I'm just sort of like, I think it's like you just start to... you start to think about like what happened, how did it happen, what can we do better? It's like it's essentially like finding out that you have cancer, or I guess better diabetes. Like, how did we do this to ourselves?
And
like,
how do we treat it?
How do we treat it? How do we make it so it never comes back again? And just trying to like inform myself. I will say that one of the big things that I regret is how little information I had going into the election, and I still felt the confidence to argue with people.
But I think we're all kind of like going to civics school. We're all learning a ton, like including Trump, because he never knew that
he's still learning about the Constitution.
Yeah, he never knew about the midterms, and now he does. So it's really been very educational.
But I think
being
that
president,
it's been good in a way because, like I said in a previous podcast, I think it's showing Americans, and I think it's showing people that you can run for office. You don't have to be a career politician. You don't have to, have all this backing. You can run for office if you have a strong stance. It's like the guy who said no immigration. I mean, that obviously wasn't the stance I would go for, but he had a strong opinion and he doubled down on it and he went for it. And it's like, so that just shows that if you get a groundswell, I mean, people will vote for you.
Also, I think it's inspiring. I'm hoping it's inspiring, and that they come out and vote to the young voters, the new voters.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And
sorry.
No, go on.
Taylor Swift, I thought, had a really interesting thing that I read that she said, which is that, I think a lot of people have been saying that young voters might not vote, but we also have to take in consideration that was young voters in 2014 or that didn't vote. So that was around my time, which I will say I didn't vote in the last midterms because I just didn't even pay attention. And so I was part of the problem. And so I think that now she's saying that these are young kids who are seeing shootings, who are seeing, just so many different things. And I think they are forced into reality, not like when I was younger, where it was sort of like everything was kind of just sort of, bubbling over on the surface. And so we didn't really have to pay attention.
Well, yeah, I mean, and for the most part, we were all okay. And we live in a big enough country to where we don't even see parts of the landscape where people are in trouble or people are hungry, or for the most part, everybody's okay. And so you can't really picture what it would be like to live in an authoritarian regime. You don't see warlords running around. You get in your car and you walk down the street and you're fine, and you have your day and you're fine. So you don't know what could go wrong. You don't know what's at stake because You just haven't been made aware.
Yeah.
I mean, my daughter's 20 years old, and, she sees things like with the immigrants and families being separated and children being held in cages and that just has affected her so much.
Yeah, it's a level of government-sanctioned cruelty that we really haven't witnessed in our lifetimes. So it's quite disturbing, and we can't ever get anesthetized because that, not to sound melodramatic, but that's how Nazi Germany became a thing.
Yeah.
It happens. It's the slow boiling frog. It doesn't happen overnight. It's like
Yeah.
And
I forgot what book I read in high school, but I can't remember it now, but it was essentially like that, where it was like these things were happening, but then the Germans were saying, well, the Nazis are bringing the Third Reich is bringing in jobs. It's bringing in this, it's bringing in that. Like, it's like they were sort of doing what we're doing now, which is like rationalizing.
Very much so.
And it happened, it didn't happen overnight. It happened slowly. And like these things that are happening now in our country are happening slowly. That's why if you haven't voted, go out and vote.
I guarantee you, at some point, a Jewish or a Nazi person told a Jewish family, it's like a summer home. It's like a summer camp. It's like, which is something that they've been saying about these things, places that they're putting these children. It's like, I don't understand the rationale. I don't understand how people can rationalize this kind of terribleness.
We're gonna talk about the races in California, because usually in California when you vote for president, you're just like, well, I don't really think my vote matters. Like, hey, Hillary, 3 million won. I just voted for you.
When I first started dating my girlfriend, one of the things she told me was she voted for Jill Stein, and I literally was like, if we were in a swing state, I would break up with you. Like, I was like,
right.
Like
we don't have that kind of luxury in Arizona.
The fact that we live in California, I was like, you're safe, but you're on notice.
So what California did was we said, like, all right, we have certain districts where there actually are more people who voted for Hillary Clinton, and yet they keep reelecting this incumbent Republican representative to Congress, and he's not good for you guys. So let's shine a spotlight on Mr. Rohrabacher. Here's what he's been up to for 30 years. So these are the districts, and I just want to talk about them a little bit with you guys, because if you live in California and you haven't yet voted and you live in one of these districts, it's like, oh my God, so important that you go and vote, because this could be the check on Trump that the whole entire world needs. So we have District 10, Central Valley, Josh Harder is running up against Jeff Denham. In District 25, Simi Valley, Santa Clarita, High Desert, Katie Hill versus Steve
Katie.
Knight. And Katie's great, and we went out and canvassed for Katie this weekend. District 39, we have Northern Orange County, Fullerton, Gil Cisneros. In District 45, Orange County, Irvine, Katie Porter. So we could possibly vote 2 California Katies to Congress. She's running up against Mimi Walters. District 48, we have Orange County Coastline, Harley Ruda.
Yes.
You guys, Harley Ruda is awesome, and he's running up against a Kremlin stooge, Dana Rohrabacher. This guy is probably the conduit through which Trump had all of his entrees to Putin and all of the oligarchy money that funded his campaign.
Do you know how terrible of a person you have to be hated and have your name be Dana? Like that, you have to have like an extra level. Like, I feel like no Dana in the history of world.
I know, because it's such a friendly name.
He's been around for so long, too long. And, the district has changed. So the makeup of that district is definitely changed. And I'm hoping in favor of Harley, who I had seen speak.
P.S. In terms of cool names, I don't know that it gets any cooler than Harley.
Oh, and he's super
and
cool.
Yeah. Anyway, sorry to interrupt.
No, and I saw him speak. I was at a fundraiser for him. He's awesome. He's really smart. He's got great ideas, and I'm hoping.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And then we have in District 49, Dana Point, San Clemente, Oceanside, Mike Levin is running up against Diane Harkey. I'm pretty sure, is that the Darrell Issa district where it seemed like there were a bunch of Republicans that were told, like, you have to step in line with this like alt-right version of Republicanism. And then there were certain people like Darrell Issa were like, I'm out. because I think what was being asked of them was just something they could not in any good conscience do. Like, they were Republicans that were kind of like John Kasich, where they were just Republicans.
Right.
But now the whole party has swung to Trumpism, and I don't think Darrell Issa wanted to play that. I don't think Paul Ryan wants to play that. I don't think Jeff Flake wants to play that. So there's a bunch of people just like, it's been fun, but I can't do this. District 50, San Diego and Riverside counties, we have Amar Kapanajar, and I don't have down here who...
Duncan.
Oh, that's Duncan Hunter. Oh, you have Duncan Hunter news. Okay.
Duncan Hunter. Okay. Duncan Hunter.
Our local criminal.
Our local ex-Marine. He inherited his seat in 2008 from his father.
You can do that?
That's how he got where he was. And good old Duncan has been indicted. Him and his wife are charged with stealing $250,000 in campaign funds.
But he's really handsome.
Now, here's another
Do you get
thing.
any points for that? I mean, I have to give Mitt Romney handsome points. I mean,
like
you just have to.
Handsome in a kind of a sleazy way?
Well, yeah.
He's handsome in a kind of a, I think he looks like a Trump lawyer.
He also threw his wife under the bus and blamed her for everything.
Also, I mean, it's also like kind of like going based off of names again. It's like, yeah, of course Duncan is going to get in trouble. Like, it's a Duncan.
Looks like the bad guy in like a Lifetime movie.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
Or like the bad boyfriend in a Christmas movie.
He's like the boyfriend that comes back after you've married someone else and had a child and now you're really happy. And
like,
then all of a sudden,
and fights you for custody and somehow wins.
And
then
his name is
shows up in a
Duncan.
hallway because he still has a
wins.
key and his name is Duncan.
Yeah, his name is Duncan.
Well, he apparently was famous for puffing on a nicotine vaporizer during a congressional
Oh, you have to find that picture, Lane. It's awesome.
committee meeting.
Duncan Hunter vaping.
He was protesting a proposal to ban e-cigarettes on airplanes.
Oh, okay.
So
I would say before e-cigarettes, maybe get parents to, start bringing their crabby babies on airplanes.
Well, have you seen how much smoke comes out of those
lot.
like e-cigarettes?
So much
Can
smoke.
you imagine? I mean, they'd have to land if somebody like smoked one
It's
of those
also
in a
recycled
cabin.
air. It's like I would be okay if it was an airport, but it's recycled air.
Oh.
I honestly think I'd rather someone smoke a cigarette on a plane than an e-cigarette because it's never smells like, at least it's a known quantity of cigarette smoke.
Yeah.
Like, you know the smell, but it's a mixed bag. You never know. It's either like peach or like fruit punch.
Like, what the hell
It's
is
horrible.
this?
And it's also weirdly cold. Like, I feel
It's
like
like
it's like
standing
I'm
too
bringing
close
a
to-
gust of wind.
It's like standing way too close to someone who's chewing juicy fruit gum.
Well,
like,
I don't know if
my
we want-
nostrils just got a load of that.
I don't know if we
Like
want, yeah.
they want younger people.
Oh yeah, it's like candy. Yeah.
I don't know if we want to get too much in the weeds with this, but I have a big issue with planes where it's like things on planes that you can't leave. Like, if
Right.
you can't leave the situation, like whenever they show like the people singing on an airplane, I was like, I'd be the one person who'd be like, nope, we're ending this. Like when they did that Lion King thing where all the people from the choir were singing, I would literally have just been like, please stop. Like,
Oh,
'cause
yeah.
I can't leave.
Like on Southwest where it's
Yeah.
like, all right, everybody. So, all right, did anyone do anything superstitious today?
I wore a nice outfit.
Well, that's really cute.
Yeah.
Does anyone
I
have
pooey-pooeyed.
what's that? On a plane?
I'm Jewish. I pooey-pooeyed. You've never heard of, you spit
Ooh.
and you say like pooey-pooey.
Oh, okay.
All right, so
it's a lot nicer than what I
I'm
thought.
wearing blue.
Oh.
And when I cast my vote for Miss Hillary Clinton, I wore blue as well. But I decided, because in deference to all of my Republican friends, I wore red socks, and I have burned them. I haven't literally burned them, but I mean, I didn't wear red socks today because it's like that didn't work. Like, why do any of us think that anything we do controls anything? That's what I find hilarious, and yet we do it.
It's like positive vibes. I think that's it.
You know, I actually did that 2 years ago during the presidential race. I went out and I bought a white top and white pants, and I was going to this party, and I figured Hillary was going to win, and I was going to be there at the victory wearing my white outfit.
Mm-hmm.
It kind of reminds me now. I haven't worn it since. It reminds me of one of those things like you wore, like when the plane crashed or somebody got,
Yeah, like where you rip your clothes when something bad happens because
Yeah.
you're Jewish and you're superstitious.
I just kind of steeled myself because the last election I just had such cockiness. I had
I did too.
such like people were voting in pantsuits and they were like, and I was just like, we're doing it. There's no way. And then it just like completely changed. So today when I woke up, the first thing I was just like, it's going to be okay. Like I'm going to be okay. Whatever happens, it's going to be okay. I have rich parents. I'm white.
God. At least there's that.
And I just want you to know, if anybody's interested in going in with me on this, there's a village in New Zealand that's for sale for $1.8 million. It's beautiful. So it's available. So just let me know after the show. And
okay.
How rich are your parents?
Yeah.
That's the good news. The bad news is
depends.
that Duncan Hunter now lives there.
It depends on how much they love me.
Is anyone worried about cheating?
yes.
Yeah.
No, not really.
Well,
I mean,
I'm
I mean,
worried
especially in Georgia.
I
I'm
don't
worried.
feel like. Well, what do you consider cheating? I guess what I'm saying is like people trying to vote, but I mean, it's already happening. People are trying to suppress votes. You know,
I mean, I know all the other ways of cheating, but what I'm legit worried about on election day is that they will tamper with the tallies. That's what I'm worried about.
Well, there was somebody who posted that when she came to the ballot, when she went to vote in Georgia, that it already said that she had voted. And so she had to make like a bunch of phone calls and finally got it cleared, and then she voted. And so she's like, I don't know who they didn't say who I voted for, but it said that I voted. So, I mean, there could be something.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I just don't trust. Brian Kemp would probably be best friends with Duncan Hunter.
Vaping buddies.
But no, that's my big concern, along with the Russian interference.
Yeah, and I'm worried about that too. How to make sure your vote gets counted on election day. Bogus text messages and a fake robocall have already popped up in Georgia and Florida, one of many states afflicted by attempts to skew the vote in the run-up to today's midterm election. I myself received a weird text yesterday, if you guys have that attachment.
I received a call from Barbra Streisand.
Did you really?
Yeah.
Did she sing at all?
No, I hung up halfway
So
through.
I got this text that said it's vote, and it's not .org, like the dot is in the middle, it's not at the bottom. Tomorrow's election day. If you're registered at whatever Chatsworth Street, your polling place is Havenhurst. That's not where I'm registered. That's not where I vote. So would they change a polling place the night before and send out texts from?
See,
it could be a glitch.
I got that too, and I actually I had already voted, but I wanted to see. It gave me my polling place.
Oh, it gave you your actual. Well,
yeah, it gave me my actual polling place.
It could have been legit.
Also, I've heard that if you go to a place to vote and they say that they don't have your you registered, you can request a provincial ballot and say I want
a provincial ballot.
Provisional.
Yeah.
I want mine to be provincial.
Provisional ballot and a receipt, apparently, because you need to show.
How do you guys feel about celebrities endorsing candidates? Because it's like in rural areas, they're always kind of complaining about the Hollywood elite, the coastal elite, the liberal elite, the whatever intellectual elite, but don't those people watch TV shows and listen to music? Like, I don't quite get how they hate.
Well, there's this attitude of like that these people are rich, so they don't have to struggle the way that they have to struggle.
But they did. Nobody. People
Isn't that who they elected as our president?
That's the hypocrisy of it.
Yeah.
Also,
right, but
it's like you take that and then you put when Kanye West supports Trump and then they're like, oh, finally we have, so it's like, it's hypocrisy.
Like, unless you're Julio Iglesias Jr., you're not born famous. You're born Julia Louis-Dreyfus, and you fly to Hollywood with $10 in your pocket, and you make your way in the world. Like,
I know, we all know
people
Julio
aren't born
Iglesias
here.
Jr.
My problem with the celebrities to just stick to entertainment is that what about James Woods? What about all the very outspoken Ted Nugent? All the Republican celebrities and entertainers.
Do you know that
who they love?
Do you know that before Al Franken, pretty much every celebrity politician was a Republican? I mean, we're talking Sonny Bono, Ronald Reagan. Yeah, Al Franken was pretty much the first Democratic celebrity politician, and the best one, in my opinion. So Julia Louis-Dreyfus posted this video, and I don't know if you guys have
What
it.
did Julio Iglesias Jr.
That was a
post?
pretty powerful video.
All citizens of Donald Trump, you are the president of all citizens of this country. You must not inflame the hatred of some at the violent expense of others. We've seen Jews subjected to persecution, prejudice, and mass murder for thousands of years.
I was 5 years old when I went to street, and I had to have on my lap a yellow star, and it started slowly, slowly, slowly. It can escalate easily, easily.
All our family was wiped out. I don't have a family. I always tell my grandchildren, you are lucky you have grandparents I never had.
We were all horrified by the despicable slaughter of 11 Jewish congregants at the Tree of Life Synagogue in Pittsburgh.
Last 2 years, since Trump is in charge, it's getting, by day, worse and worse and worse.
I think that this administration opened a Pandora box.
You also had people that were very fine people on both sides.
In memory of the 11 people who lost their lives at their place of worship, we call on the president to unequivocally denounce fascism, neo-Nazism, and white nationalism.
People should ask themselves when they go and put swastikas, why? Did they do any wrong to you?
On November 6th, vote for unity, vote for decency, vote.
That was beautiful.
Yeah.
Really, really powerful.
Very powerful.
Very powerful.
What do you guys think about like because you were talking about this earlier about Republican senators who are kind of frustrated with the way that the Republican Party is leaning, so they're just kind of bowing out. Do you think that that's kind of chickening out, or do you think that that's like sort of silent protest?
I think there are forces at work about which we know not. And I think they're not going to get any more of the PAC money. They're not going to get any more of the party support. I think on both sides, the parties have coalitions that sort of explain these are our talking points. If you're going to go out on the Sunday shows, this is what you say. I think that happens for Democrats and it happens for Republicans. It's just that at this moment in history, the Republican Party has swung really dangerously far into the criminal zone, where by any means necessary, this is what this is our agenda. And so I think that party needs to be burned down and built up with people like Jeff Flake, who are real people. It's almost like they took the passing of John McCain as their free pass to just be this horrible, horrible.
Lindsey Graham he just acted like he was a student who just went to college.
They brought him into a room and they said, "Listen, this is the message. We need you on board, or you're going to get primaried." And he lay down. That's what I think happened. I don't have any facts. I don't have any details. I just think that's what's going on, and it's not good for America.
And we have photos. Back to the celebrity thing. I just, with Oprah going out there for Stacey Abrams, I was excited about it. I don't get excited about celebrities, and that just really got me going.
No, I would be really excited if Oprah rang my doorbell. That would be exciting. I'm like you, I don't get that excited. But if I got to canvas with Joe Biden, that would be an exciting day.
Right. And I also know that they were in Florida, campaigning was
with Gillum.
Yeah, for Gillum. They had at the university, so they were trying to get the young.
They had Will Ferrell, Common, Michael B. Jordan, Alicia Keys, a whole bunch of people, and for Stacey, yeah.
Well, I think there's two kinds of people. I think there's people who I think honestly are the people who voted for Trump, who I think are angry with their situation. So instead of looking at, their immediate surroundings and going, how can I fix what's going on in here, they look out to the outside and they go, oh, the celebrities and the elite are taking over, and they start believing all this other stuff. And so I think that's the kind of people, or you have the people who are just like, if you want to get involved, get involved. Like, I think it's great. Whoever wants to get involved, you know?
Well, I think it's like this whole mentality where like you have to just picture yourself with a plate of food. If there's way more food there than you could eat, then people can eat off your plate. You're like, whatever, I'm going to be full by the time I, eat the amount that I need to be satisfied. But like if you haven't eaten for days and there's like only like 3 French fries, it's just like, do not even look at my food. Do not even watch me eat. Yeah. And so I think that's the mentality. It's like they don't feel like they have enough and they're terrified that someone's coming for it.
And the only celebrities they have in their camp is Scott Baio and Antonio Sabato Jr., who, by the way, I thought was running for city council in Calabasas. I don't know whatever happened.
I thought he was too.
I think that was Antonio Sabato Jr.
Yeah.
Who was born famous.
Who is Julio Iglesias Jr. running for?
I don't know. He's running.
He's the most popular person, right?
He's running.
Super famous.
Let's go to Facebook feed time. And I have a couple that are good. One I added at the last minute just because I loved it. So first, I saw this post from Bill Filipiak, who manages our website and does a bunch of other things. He's the editor of the Family Band, my documentary about the Cowsills. And he posted... name a refugee who inspires you and who, had their family not fled the dangers of one country to start a new life in another, would have never been able to impact the world as they did. I'll start with Freddie Mercury. And then who else is on there?
Oh, Albert Einstein.
Go ahead and say it out loud, Lori. You've got really good vision. We get it.
Albert Einstein.
Elie Wiesel. David, what does that say?
David Tran.
David Tran. I don't know who that is. Desi Arnaz.
Alexander Hamilton.
That was me. I posted
Alexander Hamilton.
Yeah, and it was like Hamilton lyric trigger because I had to add Just You Wait. So my apologies. And then Christy Murphy posted a picture of her with her I voted sticker, and it said, Citizen Murphy posting obligatory voting selfie. If you haven't, go for it. #vote. There's stickers and democracy while supplies last. And then we have what's Twitter trending. And I thought this would be a good one to close out. It's not really what's Twitter trending because there's so much stuff that's Twitter trending. And I don't even know where to begin to find the best tweets or the most recent tweets while we're in here busily doing the show. But did you guys see this going around? It's a baby who has been told that it's time to go. And so the baby, I guess they're at some sort of fair, and the baby proceeds to just hug everyone. And I really think this is who we are instinctively, and we just need to get back there somehow. So... I mean, this is a Jewish goodbye. It just takes years.
This is a family goodbye, because it's like, when I was a kid, it would be like, we're leaving, and then I'd be like, oh, we got a cool hour and a half.
Maybe this is his way of stalling. Like, I'm just going to hug more people. Like,
you know it is.
And then we don't have to go yet, because it's...
Who did I miss?
Yeah.
Hello, give me some sugar. There you go. And people are just like, yeah, I guess I'm hugging a baby right now.
And I agree with you. I think that when you boil down everybody, I think all we want is just to, know that our families are safe, and that, and it's just this.
Free hugs.
And I want to close on that because I want to just always remind everybody we're Americans. And if you're watching the show and you're conservative and you're like, hey, Weezy, I really used to like your show until I realized that you were one of those crazy libtards or whatever it is you kids are calling us these days. We're just all really loving Americans, and we just want the best thing for everybody. That I'm not that liberal, I'm kind of moderate, but I just really I really believe that we all do better when we all do better. And I know it may not feel like it if you feel threatened in the moment. It may feel like, giving somebody something, but I'll just tell a little anecdote. And I don't know that it across the board applies or not, but it's what happened to me. So I always used to watch the Save the Children ads when I was a kid, and I told myself, as soon as I can afford that, I'm going to send away from my own kid, And that
person was Julio Iglesias.
And that was Julio Iglesias Jr., who's now doing quite well.
Yeah.
And so, in 1985, because they sent me a new kid, and I guess I started in 1985. I would have been 22. And ever since I could afford whatever it costs to sponsor a child, I've been sponsoring a child through Save the Children. And I in my life, I have enjoyed abundance. And so I don't know if, I know that there's lots of religions that believe in tithing and it's just part, like a way of life, but like giving something away is like giving it to yourself. And I think if we all looked at it that way, instead of seeing everything as a threat, like somebody needs to come here or somebody needs some help or somebody needs whatever, if it were your neighbor, you'd give it. So what's the difference between that and people who just need like a little bit of a leg up? Because we already have laws. You can't just come here. There's a border. It's been in place. Like you can't just come here. Like people are acting like we want to just take down all the borders and let everybody run in. And like, no, that doesn't define a country. That's not what Democrats want. We just want what's fair and right and best for everyone. And to give back as much as possible without sacrificing what we have to give to each other. Of course, we care about our fellow Americans. It's not like we're choosing one over the other.
No, I agree.
That's what baffles me about the whole evangelical philosophy, because isn't that, aren't they supposed to be, giving and loving and understanding and
welcoming the stranger? It's in the Bible.
I'll go one step backwards from you and just say that for me, I love people and I love, I want everybody to be happy, but I also want to be able to call people assholes again. Okay. And I feel like the line for being able to call somebody an asshole has been stretching to the point where it's like, before it was like, okay, well, they believe in gay marriage, so I can't think that they're an asshole.
All right.
Or they believe, so now it's just basically like, oh, they believe that neo-Nazism is wrong. So now I can't. So it's just like, I want to be able to like, it's just the line keeps stretching farther and farther and farther.
You mean about being just so PC?
Yeah.
Is that,
Right. No, the bar is at Duncan Hunter.
Well, what I'm saying is like the bar is literally like, I feel like the base level of just general, just human compassion keeps going lower and lower. And to the point where it's like, we just now are accepting so many.
Right.
It's like, so I love everybody, but I also want to have the confidence to be like, hey, you're kind of an asshole.
Well, I think people can have asshole moments and still, you could be redeemable. But everyone can have asshole moments and you can learn from it and move on and grow and change. And I think that as a country, as a nation of immigrants that stole this land from other people and then brought slaves here from Africa, we're not really ones to say, oh, we're some sort of higher level of morality or whatever. We're just trying the best we can to create a nation that's kind and just and has good laws that keep everyone safe. And so let's just keep doing that and remember we're Americans, we're citizens of planet Earth, and we're all in this together. It's a collaboration, and let's just be that baby and go hug everybody.
Well, and you know what? I hope that that we do get to that point. Unfortunately, our president his main goal is right now is just to divide us.
I think we have to do it in spite of him.
We're not going to let him
do it in spite.
He's only one man.
I think we have to do it in spite of him. It's like I read a story over the weekend that was great about this African-American gentleman who's befriending Nazis or Nazis and people from the KKK because he's trying to show them that that their misconceptions about black people are wrong. And
they just don't know any.
And so he's basically just like saying like, look, like these people were raised in hate and they're ignorant. Mm-hmm. But like, so he's doing something that like, I feel like is extremely brave and extremely and he's doing something that like, I don't know if I would have the courage to do. And so I think those are the kind of people that I think we need to hold up and we need to say, hey, these are the people that we want to be like. And I think we need to basically stop talking about the stuff that Trump's doing.
Part of the solution is just be kind. Just be a little bit kinder every day than you would have been. And that's what I try to be.
What I'm going to start doing is when I go out to a restaurant with my girlfriend and she goes, hey, it's time to go. We're going to be late for the movie. I'm going to go, okay, but give me an hour because I have to hug everybody in this.
I got to hug everybody here.
You know, the thing with Trump is, because he's such a narcissist, is that instead of focusing on all of the horrible things that he does, we should just kind of like yank his chain and talk about, you know, how handsome he is and what a hottie he is.
Well,
and
that's what...
he'd just get off on that and he wouldn't talk about anything else.
That's literally what Stephen Colbert has been saying, is that like if his opinions are the last person in the room that he talks to. So I honestly feel like one of the best things that could happen if we get a majority of the Senate and the Congress is that he will have to deal with more Democrats. And so if we all get in there and go like, oh, you are so handsome and oh man, like you're just the bee's knees and I just think you're amazing. He'll be like, wow, Democrats aren't so bad, you know? And so I think
they think I'm handsome.
Yeah.
Everybody says.
You just have to like...
All right, that's our show for today. Go ahead. Finish your thought, Lori.
Well, I just, I think you just have to play to his base needs and stuff. So, but he's like everybody else. He just wants to be loved. And I feel like there's something missing for him.
Well, he could learn from that baby.
Yeah.
All right. I love you, and we will see you next week. I want to thank Lane McFadden, Francesco Damondo, David Court, Leslie Sackheim, Lori Roggenkamp. I'm Louise Palanker. Happy Election Day. Thanks for voting, and we will see you next week. Bye-bye. Be kind.